20, and I'm new to New York, but I love the city so far. And I also love movies about New York, and I saw they're making a Ghostbusters 3. And I love the Ghostbusters movies. But I don't want to see Ghostbusters 3, because every time they make a sequel, they gotta do some stupid shit to the story so that it makes sense that they're having a sequel. Like in Ghostbusters 2, the Ghostbusters run into the mayor of New York's office and they're like, hey, ghosts are about to invade New York, we need to do something. And the mayor's like, that's nonsense, there's no such thing as ghosts, get out of here, I'll have you arrested. And that means that the mayor and everyone in his office completely forgot that 5 years earlier, a fucking shit ton of ghosts invaded New York. In the movie Ghostbusters 1. Gozer the Gozerian manifested himself in the physical world as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and he was crushing cars and terrorizing the population in Times Square. How the fuck do you forget that? I think if you want to be mayor of New York, you should have at least a rudimentary knowledge of the history of New York. But, as you can tell, I'm a big nerd. I'm into all that nerdy stuff. I got into like reading comic books to escape the shitty world of my high school. But sometimes you just have to accept that nothing can really escape it, because like my favorite comic book was Spider-Man, because he was like a geek in high school who got bit by a radioactive spider, and then he got superpowers, which I'm pretty sure if Spider-Man went to my high school, even after he got superpowers, he'd still be considered a fucking geek. And the reason I say that is because the kid that played Tum Tum in the movie Three Ninjas, he went to my high school. And you'd think he'd be really popular because he was in a Hollywood movie. But instead, he just got his ass beat like at least once a week. Everybody wanted to say that they beat up one of the Three Ninjas. Sure, if Spider-Man went to my high school, it would have been the same thing. Like, people getting drunk at the baseball game, like, hey, Spider-Man, why'd you strike out? I thought you had superpowers. It's like, well, yes, I do, but my superpowers don't include being good at baseball. Hey, shut up, faggot! Hey, guys, Spider-Man can climb walls, but he can't even fuck Britney Stewart, and she sucked off the deaf kid. So, that's the type of high school I went to. Like I said, I love New York, and a lot of my friends, I'm originally from the South, I'm from Virginia Beach, and a lot of my friends love the fact that I live here too, because they can come visit me. But they have a hard time understanding that New York is different from the South. Like, one of my best friends came and visited, and we're in a bar, and he's like, I'm getting kind of tired, can you get me a Red Bull vodka? And the bartender was like, I'm sorry, we don't have Red Bull. And he's like, alright, can you get me a Jack and Jeff? And for those of you who don't know, Jack and Jeff is a Jack Daniels and Jeff Gordon energy drink. And you're a fucking idiot if you think a place that doesn't have Red Bull is going to have Jeff Gordon energy drink. And he was honestly, seriously, like, couldn't understand why they didn't have Jeff Gordon energy drink. And I couldn't tell him the truth. I couldn't be like, it's because they don't respect your stupid culture. I'd like grab him, pull him to the side, and be like, the people in this bar are Dale Earnhardt fans. Sorry. But, speaking of going to the bars, I feel like every time I go to the bars, I see one of these bachelorette parties. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's like a group of girls wearing matching t-shirts, just getting crazy, to celebrate the last night, that they can party as friends before one of them gets locked up forever. And a lot of times you see the bride wearing a tiara that says princess, and I think that's really creepy for a grown woman to wear a tiara that says princess, because it says, I'm not really political, except that I just don't support democracy at all. And what you're really saying is, if I was living during the Middle Ages, I wouldn't be in this bar drinking a margarita out of a penis straw. I'd be in a castle giving funny nicknames to my slaves. And if they didn't like it, I'd have them put to death. And the thing is, I'm not from the United States. I'm from a country that still has a princess. And nobody fucking likes that bitch. Because she keeps a pet tiger in her bedroom and she feeds it political prisoners for breakfast. And a political prisoner in my country is just a person that was kidnapped from their house and sent to jail because they didn't want to live in a country with a princess. But I hate to say this, but that story isn't true. I'm not actually from a country that has a princess. I'm from a country that's run by religious fanatics. And I'm originally from Iran, and my family fled Iran so that we can escape from the religious fanatics. But we didn't do a very good job, because we ended up in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Home of the Christian Coalition. And I went to a public school, but it was pretty much the same as a Christian school. And a lot of times when I hear about the gay marriage debate, people are like, you know, a lot of conservatives are like, you know, gay marriage is just part of the homosexual agenda. The next thing you'll know, they'll be teaching homosexuality in schools. And I think they should teach homosexuality in schools. Because kids know that gay people exist, they should know how it works. When I was a little kid, I thought that gay people had sex by rubbing their dicks together. Because my sex ed class was a lecture given at the 3rd grade lunch table by John Malvin, who was also in 3rd grade. So, I think we should teach kids how it really works. Sometimes people ask me, is it hard being, you know, Muslim, Middle Eastern in the United States after 9/11? And my answer is like, no, not really. I don't ever really get racism, except for one place. Focus groups. Because focus groups, if you've ever been in one, it's like they bring a bunch of people of different races together, and they try to see what they have to say to each race to get them to buy a product. And I went to a focus group for Jack Daniels because I love bourbon. And the guy's like asking all these questions, and he's like, why do you think people like bourbon more than scotch? And one of the guys was like, people like bourbon because it's like an American thing. It's only made in Kentucky and Tennessee, and scotch is like what European snobs drink, but bourbon's like our own thing. And the marketing guy was really interested. He was like, wow, so it's like a patriotic thing. And then he turns to me, he's like, do you have that same patriotic feeling about bourbon? And I was really fucking offended, because I didn't know what he thought I was going to say. Like, oh no, I don't feel that way about bourbon because I hate America. I'm not here to drink free whiskey at all. I'm here because the Ayatollah told me that I need to find Jack Daniels, wrap him up in my magic carpet, and send him back so that I can kill him. Because Allah is mad that he's making the Satan's juice. But I didn't say that. I was like, I'll leave you with this. I'm sorry if any of you are Republican. I'm a Republican too. I'm just making fun of them. But another thing, one thing I don't agree with the Republicans is I support illegal immigration. I think it's great. I think everybody should be an American. And I was getting this argument with this one redneck about illegal immigration. I was like, what is wrong with illegal immigration? What is the thing that's wrong with it? And he was like, I'll tell you. The Mexicans can't talk English good. That's a good argument. But when I think about any political issue, I think about what would the founding fathers have thought? And then I think if Thomas Jefferson was alive, he would be like, hey, we did all that fucking shit and fought that crazy war in the middle of the winter so that you dumb motherfuckers wouldn't have to be English anymore. I think we should speak Spanish just to let them people in England know that we're still mad about all that shit Thomas Jefferson wrote about in the Declaration of Independence. And you know how they make t-shirts that say, never forget 9/11? I think we should also make t-shirts that say, never forget that the English burnt down the White House in the War of 1812. And the president had to flee that bitch in terror, and the only thing he could save was a portrait of George Washington. Because that guy dedicated his life to fucking killing English people. And this is a true story. When America got its independence, I know, you know, what the fuck did happen to this comedy routine? When America got its independence, the King of England was like, fuck all you guys, you just exchanging one king for another. George Washington's just going to be a king too. And then the people of America actually offered George Washington the kingship. And George Washington was like, you know, that would be great for me and my family to have complete control over the greatest country in the world forever, but I just think it's really fucked up to make people live in a country with princesses. That's all I got on my side.
You can also catch Robinson on the History Channel.